Why only dark chosen ones can vibrate in both dark and light dimensions at once? We live in a world obsessed with polarity. Everything is labeled good or bad, light or dark, love or fear. Most people spend their entire lives trying to escape one side of that equation, usually the dark. They run from it, suppress it, deny it, bury it deep inside. They cling to light, pray for peace, chant for clarity, and hope that if they just vibrate high enough, everything dark inside them will disappear. But we both know that's not how this works. Not in the real world, not in the realm of deep sacred truth. If you've made it here, to this message, to this moment, it's because a part of your soul already knows something others are too afraid to admit. Darkness is not evil. It is not the enemy. It is not something to be destroyed. It is a dimension of power, of origin, of raw creative force, and only those who are brave enough to enter it, to understand it, to integrate it, only they can truly vibrate in both realms at once. You see, the light is familiar, it's comfortable, it's where most spiritual teachings guide you. Love, compassion, forgiveness, peace. It's beautiful, but it's only half the story. The light is the blossoming, but the dark is the seed. The dark is the void from which all life emerges. It is the womb of the cosmos, and in that space there is truth that will never show itself in the daylight. Most people aren't ready for that kind of truth. It shatters illusions. It strips away identity. It destroys the masks we wear to survive. That's why only a few, what we call the dark chosen ones, are ever initiated into this level of awareness.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lesson.
Now, don't misunderstand. The word dark here doesn't mean evil. It doesn't mean malicious. It means depth. It means mystery. It means the willingness to explore the unknown within yourself and the universe. The dark chosen ones are not villains. They are not shadow dwellers in the way the world fears. They are initiates of the void. Guardians of the space between worlds. They are the ones who have walked into the abyss of their own suffering, their own trauma, their own rage and shame and fear. And instead of running, they made a home there. They sat in it. They listened. They learned its language. And in doing so, they became something almost indescribable, whole. To vibrate in both dimensions simultaneously is to embody paradox. It is to be the calm center of a storm while also being the storm itself. It's to bring light into a room not because you radiate positivity, but because you've made peace with your darkness and no longer fear it. And that presence, it's magnetic, it's disruptive, it's unforgettable. People feel it without knowing why, because when a person has integrated both light and dark, they carry a frequency that can't be faked. It shakes people awake, it triggers, it heals, it liberates. But here's what no one tells you. The initiation into this dual vibration is brutal. It's not a weekend retreat, it's not a meditation app, it's not a series of affirmations, it's a death. A death of who you thought you were. A death of comfort. A death of every narrative you used to protect yourself. The dark chosen ones are chosen because they choose themselves in the middle of collapse. When everything falls apart, identity, relationships, beliefs, they don't numb out, they don't escape through spiritual bypassing, they sit with the wreckage, they listen to the silence, and in that silence something ancient rises. Have you ever wondered why you feel a deep tension inside you? like two forces pulling in opposite directions. One part of you wants peace, stillness, light. The other part wants chaos, intensity, fire. That's not dysfunction. That's potential. That's your signal. Because if you're feeling that, it means you are on the edge of awakening into multidimensional vibration. You are already standing at the threshold. The question is, will you step through? Will you let go of needing to be one thing or the other? Will you allow yourself to become the full spectrum? The dark, chosen ones don't see the world in black and white. They live in the in-between. They've learned to decode the symbols in dreams, to extract messages from pain, to sense spirit in the silence. They don't reject the ego, they understand it. They don't deny the shadow, they master it. And because they've gone to the depths, they can hold space for others who are lost. They are the ones who walk into burning buildings of the soul and pull others out, not with sympathy, but with precision, clarity, and strength. And here's the part that might shock you. The more darkness you integrate, the more light you can carry. Not the superficial glow of spiritual performance, but the radiant, piercing light of truth that burns through illusion. The deeper you go into your own underworld, the more compassion you generate. Because when you've sat with your own monsters, you don't judge anyone else's. You become a safe space for transformation, not because you're perfect, but because you're real. Oh, why can only the dark chosen ones vibrate in both realms at once? Because only they have earned the capacity. Only they have faced the weight of their own density and refused to be broken by it. Only they have stared into the mirror of their soul and seen both beauty and terror, and loved both. Light chasers alone are too fragile. Shadow dwellers alone are too lost. But the dark chosen ones, they've merged the two. They've become the alchemy. And now they move between dimensions like breath, effortless, unseen, powerful. Let me ask you, what part of yourself have you been avoiding? What emotion frightens you the most? What would happen if you stopped running and turned to face it? Would it destroy you or free you? Because that's the doorway, that's the test. And once you walk through it, you don't come back the same. The ancient blueprint, hidden in your shadow DNA. There is something encoded deep within you, older than your name, older than the body you inhabit, older than time as we know it. It is not written in words, but it speaks in symbols, sensations, and subtle nudges. This ancient blueprint is not stored in your conscious mind. It's encoded in your energetic DNA, in the folds of your shadow, in the forgotten chambers of your soul. And the reason only the dark chosen ones can vibrate in both light and dark dimensions is because they are the only ones who have dared to activate this blueprint by going where others refuse to look, into their own inner abyss. You see, when you're born into this world, you inherit more than just a physical body or a family lineage. You inherit a spiritual contract, a map, a mission. But most people lose touch with it early on. They're taught to conform, to obey, to perform. They're told to fear the dark, to avoid discomfort, to silence the parts of themselves that don't fit into the mold. But the dark chosen ones, there's something different in them from the beginning. They don't buy into the illusion. They might try to fit in for a while, but deep down, they know they're here for something else, something bigger, something that doesn't have words, but roars in their blood like a forgotten language. This inner knowing isn't always peaceful. In fact, it often feels like internal warfare. You might feel like you're being torn apart from the inside out. One part of you wants to surrender to the chaos, to burn everything down. Another part wants to rise, to lead, to heal. This inner tension isn't a flaw, it's initiation. It's the friction that activates your dormant codes. And when you stop running from it, when you finally turn inward and face the parts of yourself you've been avoiding for lifetimes, that's when the blueprint begins to come alive. But here's the truth most won't tell you. This blueprint is not light-filled. It is not shiny. It is not soft. It is forged in the underworld. It's coded in your wounds, your rage, your grief, your shame. These aren't obstacles to your awakening. They are the very keys. Every trauma you've experienced has carved a deeper channel in your soul, creating space for greater capacity. Every time you've been broken, it created cracks where divine light and ancient memory could seep in. This is why the dark chosen ones are so powerful. They are not powerful in spite of their pain. They are powerful because of it. Have you ever wondered why you feel so out of place in this world? Why you see through people's masks so easily? Why you can feel energy in a room without anyone speaking? It's because your blueprint is already partially active. You've always been tuned to multiple dimensions, whether you realized it or not. But the full activation only happens when you stop trying to fix yourself and start remembering yourself. You were never broken. You were encoded, hidden, veiled, not because you were weak, but because your time hadn't come yet. And now it has. The shadow is your access point. Not your punishment, not your shame, your portal. When you go into it consciously, with reverence, you begin to unlock memories, capacities, and wisdom that defy logic. You begin to speak a language no one taught you, but you've always known. You start to see patterns in chaos, hear messages in silence, download truths that feel more real than anything you've ever been taught. This is the ancient technology of the soul, and it doesn't operate on surface-level positivity. It operates through initiation, through fire, through surrender. The world will not understand you at first. That's part of the test. They will call you intense, too much, too dark, too deep. You might even start to believe them. But let me tell you something sacred. All great initiates were misunderstood. All who carried ancient codes were feared before they were revered. Your shadow DNA threatens the systems built on control and conformity, because when you activate it, you become sovereign. You become free, and nothing terrifies a programmed world more than someone who cannot be controlled. But freedom is not given, it is earned through descent, through facing your inner dragons and realizing they were never trying to destroy you, they were trying to awaken you. They were guardians of your power. And now, one by one, you must reclaim those fragments of self you abandoned. The part of you that was silenced, the part that was told it was too wild, too dark, too much. Each one holds a piece of the blueprint, and only when you bring them back into your being, without fear, without judgment, will you become whole. So I ask you now, what memory still haunts you? What emotion still controls your decisions? What part of yourself do you still deny because it doesn't fit the narrative of who you think you should be? That's where the doorway is. That's where the treasure lies. And when you walk through it, not with arrogance, but with sacred curiosity, you will begin to unlock a power that vibrates across dimensions, a power that allows you to be both shadow and light, both death and rebirth, both destruction and creation. This is what it means to carry the ancient blueprint. This is what it means to be a dark chosen one. The forbidden power of emotional alchemy, turning darkness into frequency. Emotions are the most misunderstood technology of the human soul. We are taught to suppress them, to fear their intensity, to label them as either positive or negative, when in fact they are neither. They are frequencies, raw, unrefined power, and the reason why only the dark chosen ones can vibrate in both light and dark dimensions is because they are the only ones who have learned to transmute emotion instead of escaping it. They know that sadness is not weakness, that rage is not dangerous when harnessed, that fear is not an enemy, it's a signal, a message, a gatekeeper to untapped dimensions of self. Most people are emotional hoarders. They either trap their emotions in their bodies until it becomes sickness, or they explode destructively, unable to contain what they never learned how to hold. But the dark chosen ones, those who walk both realms, operate with a different code. They are emotional alchemists. They don't run from feelings. They meet them head-on with reverence, with stillness, with mastery. And in doing so, they convert dense emotion into high-frequency energy. They take grief and turn it into wisdom. They take heartbreak and turn it into presence. They take rage and burn away illusion with it. They don't waste anything. Everything becomes fuel. Let me tell you something dangerous and sacred. Your emotions are portals. Every time you feel something deeply, you are standing at the edge of a dimension. Most people numb themselves before they get there. They distract, they scroll, they rationalize. But you're here because you've started to realize that the feeling itself is the key. That when you allow yourself to fully feel the darkness, without judgment, without resistance, something shifts. A door opens, you drop beneath the narrative and enter into raw energy. That energy is pure potential, and when you learn to stay there, not collapse, not react, but stay, you begin to reshape your entire frequency. The dark chosen ones are never emotionally numb. They are emotionally sovereign. They've trained themselves to hold intensity like a vessel. They know how to breathe through fire, how to dissolve shame by facing it, how to let grief move through them like a river without drowning in it. And because of that, they carry a vibration that is felt by everyone, whether they speak or not. People feel safe with them, not because they are gentle, but because they are real, because they've been to the depths and are no longer afraid of what lives there. Have you ever noticed how certain people light up a room? Not with fake positivity, but with grounded presence. That's the result of emotional alchemy. That's what happens when you stop leaking energy through emotional avoidance and start using it. Every emotion is a frequency, and frequency is power. When you stop labeling your feelings and start listening to them, you begin to activate your multidimensional nature. You stop living in reaction and start living in creation. You stop trying to manage reality and start shaping it. But here's the forbidden part, the part no one wants to admit. The reason emotional alchemy is feared is because it makes you uncontrollable. Society teaches you to fear your feelings because a feeling being is a powerful being. A feeling being is a threat to the systems built on obedience and numbness. When you reclaim your emotional body, you reclaim your spiritual sovereignty. You become unpredictable, intuitive, wild in the most sacred sense. You vibrate across dimensions, not because of what you know, but because of what you're willing to feel. So I ask you now, What emotion have you been refusing to feel? What feeling have you labeled as too much? What would happen if you sat with that emotion, not as a victim, not as a reactor, but as an alchemist? What would happen if you breathed into your anger instead of projecting it? What if you cried without apology, screamed without shame, and let your body become the temple of transformation it was always meant to be? Because that's where the real power is, not in escaping the darkness, but in becoming the vessel through which it is transmuted. This is the secret art. This is the ancient science. This is emotional alchemy. And those who master it vibrate in all realms. The final gate, living as a dimensional frequency in a one-dimensional world. Once you've walked through the shadow, activated your ancient codes, and mastered emotional alchemy, there is one final gate. It's not a dramatic event. It doesn't come with fireworks or angels descending from the sky. It's subtle, invisible to the untrained eye, but it changes everything. It is the moment when you no longer see yourself as a person in the world, but as a living frequency moving through dimensions. You're not just existing, you're broadcasting. And what makes this final gate so rare, so daunting, is that you must learn to carry your multidimensional essence in a world that only sees in one dimension. Most of the world operates on surface reality. It believes what it sees. It trusts only what can be measured, explained, or categorized. But you, the dark chosen one, you've seen too much. You've felt too deep. You can no longer pretend that this is all there is. You walk into a room and feel the grief no one mentions. You speak a truth and watch people flinch, not because you are cruel, but because your frequency exposes what's hidden. You don't just speak words, you transmit energy. And with that comes responsibility. Living as a dimensional frequency means you will often be misunderstood. People will project onto you everything they are unwilling to face in themselves. They might call you intense, unstable, too emotional, too spiritual, too dark. But that's only because they can't categorize you. You don't fit the mold. You don't play the game. You don't vibrate at their level, and so they either fear you or idolize you. But very few see. This is the loneliness of the awakened. But it is also the liberation, because once you stop needing to be seen, you become vision itself. You begin to live from the inside out. You move not from logic, but from resonance. You stop chasing goals and start following frequency. You don't ask, what should I do? You ask, what is aligned with my vibration? And in that shift, your entire life transforms. You find yourself in the right places at the right times. Synchronicities become your signposts. You're guided not by plans, but by pulses. Subtle inner movements that carry more intelligence than 1,000 strategies. This is what it means to live as a multidimensional being in a one-dimensional world. You no longer follow the map because you are the compass. But here's the challenge: the world will constantly try to pull you back. It will tempt you with distraction, with validation, with comfort. It will whisper, come back to sleep. Be like everyone else. Don't feel so much. Don't see so deep. And you will have to choose again and again to stay awake, to stay sovereign, to stay rooted in your truth, even when everything around you is built on illusion. This is the gate that never closes. It's not a one-time initiation. It is a daily commitment to walk as a living frequency, even when no one else understands what you're doing. And yet, there is beauty in this path. a sacred kind of joy. Because while others are chasing meaning, you are embodying it. While others are searching for the divine, you are radiating it, not because you're perfect, but because you've integrated your shadow. You've burned in the fire, you've earned the right to carry light, not as a performance, but as a presence. And when you move through the world like this, you don't need to convince anyone of anything. Your vibration does the talking. So I ask you now, for the last time, can you live as a transmission? Can you hold the frequency of both creation and destruction, love and rage, silence and sound, without collapsing into either? Can you walk through this world not as a seeker, but as a source? Because if you can, then you have passed through the final gate. You're not just chosen, you are the vibration itself.